Hey guys, it's Hazel here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about The Mandalorian Season 2 because I just finished it and I just want to put this right out there. No spoilers. This is a spoiler-free review. We're going to go to an in-depth analysis spoiler review in the future. I'm already working on a script for that. But right now we're just going to talk about the overall Season 2. Now, let's just, I'm just going to put this right out there right away, is that this is just one person's opinion, okay? If you really love this season, keep loving it, okay? I'm not going to stop you. I personally was very disappointed with it, and I'm just going to get that right out of the bag right now. You can love this series. This is not me trying to not have you love it, okay? This is just my opinion on why I think the writing was very mediocre at most, and the characters, it's like they didn't give the characters many arcs, really. And I'm going to explain why, and it'll be easier to explain why in an in-depth analysis, so if you could stick around for that video, if you could watch that, I would really appreciate that, because this is really going to be, I won't be able to express my opinions properly without spoiling things. So this is just going to be the quick spoiler-free review of everything in The Mandalorian. So let's start with the plot. The plot is very straightforward, and I never have a problem with straightforward plots. That's perfectly fine. It's easy to follow. It's pretty basic, really, but again, I don't really see that as a problem. There's nothing really wrong with the plot. Really, what I have wrong with it is just what happens in the episodes. Is if we look, particularly later in the season, the only episode that I really like is episode 7. That episode 7 is really good. I actually think it's really, really solid. I think it does bring a character arc into The Mandalorian. I think that they should have developed it more throughout season 2, and I think they didn't do that. And in my analysis, I'll explain why, because then I'd have to go into spoilers into episode 5, which we're not going to do, because I don't want to do that. But yeah, I thought that the Mandalorian's arc was very weak. I thought that he's the main character. He should have more of an arc. And he didn't really have too much of an arc in season 1, but it was better than what we got in season 2, because at least he, made his decision. At least he changed throughout season 1. I feel like he didn't change at all throughout this season, if that makes sense. I'll explain that more when I go in depth on episode 8, because episode 8 is the biggest offender of this crime. And I know people are immediately going to be crying in my comment section about episode 7 and 8 and what happens in them. But again, please don't spoil anything. Please just stick around for the spoiler review, because that'll be where I explain everything. So let me just keep going on. The themes are there. They're nothing impressive. Obviously, everyone knows there's characters who show up this season who are in other elements of Star Wars. That's no spoiler. Everyone knows that. I think that's pretty expected. I mean, it doesn't feel like fan service most of the time. Sometimes it does. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that could have been cut, and I feel like there was a lot of, I use the word filler carefully, because I know people will re-at me saying it's a episodic bounty hunter adventure, there can't be filler. There can be filler, actually, when something doesn't affect the plot, characters, themes, or anything, even if it's episodic, even if it's an anthology, if it doesn't affect the characters either, it's still considered filler. And I'm not saying that any episodes are filler, I'm just saying certain moments felt like filler. But let's move on to the biggest problem I have with season 2. It's the inter-episode conflict. There's no conflict. A lot of times you will see an episode and your characters will be fighting some random enemy, right? But there doesn't seem to be any main conflict. There's at no point during a lot of these confrontations do the heroes need to change their plans. We never feel, as an audience, or we don't feel the tension. We don't feel like they're in danger. Yeah, it's awesome to see the Mandalorian and other people taking down their enemies, and it's pretty cool to see, but at the same time, it doesn't... Obviously, Stormtroopers are in this. They're in a trailer, so that's no spoiler. We already know who the big bad guys are. We know it's Moff Gideon. So it just doesn't feel... Stormtroopers are made into, this comedical, they're nothing. It's just like Star Wars Rebels, where the Stormtroopers don't feel like a threat. They feel like they're just there. Whenever a Stormtrooper's on screen, I'm never scared. And no, I don't think that we should be scared of a Stormtrooper. I mean, it's a Stormtrooper, but at least show that they're competent. And that's why I like episode 7. Because it makes the Stormtroopers look competent. So one very big positive of this season is episode 7. That episode, it was beautiful. It was wonderful. And in the spoiler review, I'll go in depth on why I think it's wonderful. But until then, we're just going to keep going on with season 2. I thought the characters were pretty weak this season. I love The Mandalorian as a character. I just want you to know that. He's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I love Pedro Pascal. That's a whole man right there. Anyway, so, yeah, The Mandalorian, I love him a lot. I felt that his arc was a little disappointing because come episode 8, what they're setting up from even the first season, as far as the first season, to here, to the last episode, I felt like it, excuse my nails, they're completely disgusting, I just saw that on camera, but I felt like it wasn't a satisfying conclusion. I felt the last episode was very weak. I felt that there was no fret, really, again. There was no fret at all in the 8th episode. I didn't feel any danger for their lives at any point until the very end. At the very end, I was like, ooh, this could actually, this is getting serious. And then something happens. And then it just, all their problems are solved due to this one thing happening. And I don't really have a problem with that in itself, but it's the finale. You'd figure they would add more of a punch or something. Like, I'm not talking like character death, but I felt like there was no consequence for them going somewhere to get something. It's dangerous. It's implied that it's dangerous. And the characters don't seem to react. Whenever there's a dangerous situation where they're facing down stormtroopers, like a whole dozen of them, right? A whole dozen. None of them are panicked. They're never panicked. They never seem to be like, oh my god, what are we going to do? Like, there's never any fear. If they're not afraid, how are we as an audience supposed to be? How are we supposed to feel that tension? It's just like in the prequels with Phantom Menace, when there's the final fight and that one dude says, oh, shouldn't be a problem. Then where's the tension go? If you don't have your characters reacting to these situations, where's the tension? I didn't feel it at all. Now, I'm going to rewatch season 2 and see if I missed anything, because there could be some points that I'm making here that are incorrect. Maybe they are reacting in a different way, but from what I've seen, there was really no conflict in the episodes. Like, the characters never had to majorly change their plans. And I know people are going to re-at me, like, oh, they had to change their plans, like, minorly, like, tiny little bit. Like, oh, they had to go into a thing instead of just leaving like normal. Oh, the Mandalorian had to take more bullets than normal to get them out of a certain spot. Like, that's not conflict. That's like, if it takes less than a minute to solve, it's not conflict. That is not how it works. So if it takes less than a minute, I'm sorry, just no. But let's get on to the things that I did like. Obviously, episode 7. I loved episode 7. That is amazing, amazing episode. Some of the new characters are pretty okay, and by new I mean not from previous sources of media, I mean completely new, like the frog lady. I thought she was kind of cute. Yeah, of course I did. Cara Dune, I love her. I think she's great. I thought she had actually a pretty solid arc. I mean, she didn't really have much of an arc because she wasn't on screen much, but I thought that what she did have made sense and it did line up with her character. Moff Gideon was complete wasted potential, but he was pretty cool when he was on screen. So I can give... Who doesn't give? I don't remember his name, but the actor, Breaking Bad, he's awesome, obviously. So he's just an automatic plus. The cast is an automatic plus. It's pretty good. There are some weak moments in the acting, but that isn't from the main cast, so I can forgive that. Yeah, so really, overall, I would give The Mandalorian Season 2 a 6 out of 10. I know, that's lower than Season 1, so people are going to be like, but the first season, but it was like very similar with the whole episodic journey. I'm like, no. I admitted there was a lot of flaws with Season 1. I still think Season 1 is very flawed, but I think that it gets the overall message across, and something that Season 1 does better than Season 2, and I hate to compare the two, but they are in the same kind of series, so I think it's kind of fair too. I normally don't like comparing the previous to the sequel, but now I am, so here we are. So yeah, but the last 2 episodes of Season 1, you were constantly afraid of what was going to happen. I mean, there's no spoiler, obviously, in episode 7 of the first season that Moff Gideon shows up. Everyone knows that. This is a Season 2 review. The spoilers for Season 1 doesn't count. That doesn't count. But that's just... It was awesome. It was so cool. The heroes were pinned down. They were in their lowest, their weakest moment. There was never a moment in Season 2 where the heroes were, like, in their weakest moment, where we actually thought as an audience, oh, wow, they might die. And you could argue that there was a moment in Episode 8 that was like that, but it lasted for less than a minute. So you see what I mean? When something lasts for less than a minute, like, it's just, it doesn't feel right. We had to wait an entire week for the next episode in Season 1, and we were like, oh my god, what's going to happen to our main characters? We had time to process it and be like, oh my god, wait. It's like the ending of Empire Strikes Back, where there's, like, very little hope. I mean, it ends with a character death, too. Like, you know? I feel like they should have been better with that kind of stuff, but they really weren't. So, yeah, I know that obviously there's going to be a Season 3, but I still feel like the conclusion did not wrap up all the... Like, it didn't feel like it concluded Season 2's plot if that makes sense. I felt like there were still a lot of loose threads, and I know that that's obviously set up for season 3, but truthfully, I felt like you should finish season 2 before worrying about season 3. I mean, it just felt like they were really trying to set it up there, and it felt very blatant and obvious, and I just felt manipulated, if that makes sense. The same thing goes for episode 5, where it just felt like there was obvious setup for, I mean, now you can see they announced a bunch of stuff, a bunch of new shows, and I'm not going to spoil which one relates to episode 5, but you could tell it was just obvious setup. It was very obvious setup, and I didn't like that at all. But really, season 2 is just, it was fine. There was some really good action. The cinematography and music is superb, absolutely superb, and I will forever stand by that. If anyone says that the cinematography in The Mandalorian is bad, we're going to square up right here now. The music is awesome. Same guy who did Tenet, I believe, because Zimmer was working on Dune. And at the time of recording, this is happy day that Dune should have released day, Friday, December 18th, so yeah. Yeah, overall, it was rather disappointing. I thought that the action was cool, cinematography good. So let's just summarize what was good and what was bad in The Mandalorian Season 2, just so no one's confused. Pluses, cinematography. We have the music. We have the action. That was pretty cool. CGI, obviously it looks amazing. It absolutely is stunning. Episode 7. Episode 3 was alright. I mean, I thought it was pretty decent. There were some moments I didn't like, but overall I thought it was a pretty decent episode. I thought it added to the Mandalorian's character, which I really liked. And the Mandalorian himself, he's pretty cool. I didn't like his arc at the end, at the last episode, but other than that, I thought it was pretty good. I like Cara Dune as well, so that's quite a few things that are good about it. I'm not trying to make it sound like the season was bad. I know 6 out of 10 isn't very good, but it wasn't atrocious by any means. Some of the writing choices, especially in the last episode, were kind of just blatantly bad, but other than that, I mean, the writing was really just the main weak point for me. The bad things would be the conflict in the episodes, the writing, the character arcs that were not complete, and a very dissatisfying ending. The ending was it left me not wanting more, but like angry, because now we have to wait another year, because it didn't feel satisfying to me at all. And of course, in my in-depth review, I will go over why. That's going to be probably a long video. But yeah, as I said, 6 out of 10. It was really kind of forgettable. I'm not going to go back and rewatch it. I mean, even with season 1, there's only like 3 episodes I go back and rewatch. And I know that in season 2, the only episode I'll rewatch is episode 7. I don't have any desire to go back and rewatch any of the other ones. I'll rewatch the finale because I watched it on my small screen phone with subtitles on because I was in a busy place, so I couldn't really watch it, obviously. So, I mean, that's why I'm not going really too in-depth right now, because I want to be able to rewatch season 2 and get a formed opinion, because that's going to be the last time I rewatch season 2, because I don't really have an interest, like I said. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Those are just my thoughts. Again, if you really like The Mandalorian Season 2, because I know a lot of people do, that's perfectly fine. You were very welcome to like things. It is entertaining. I just think that the writing was very lackluster, and it wasn't up to what I figured would be standards from Filoni, because I like Filoni's work. He's done some good things, but it seems like whenever there's stormtroopers involved, he doesn't like to make the stormtroopers a threat. But it also doesn't make sense, because in season 1 they were a threat. But I don't know. I guess we'll find out in my in-depth review. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. My socials will be in the description. If you want to see the in-depth analysis, I suggest you subscribe with the bells on. Leave a like on this video if you agree with me. And please follow my Twitch, please. We're so close to 150 followers. We want to get there by the end of the year. But yeah, enough self-promotion. We're just going to make this outro quick. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, and bye!